Hey guys, so I wanted to give you all a free course on how exactly I go about doing the colors and lighting in my artworks because that is one of the most asked things that I get with all the pieces that I put up on social media. So let's get straight to it, okay? Firstly, the agenda for today's free class is that there's going to be a quick intro, which is where we are at right now. Then I'm going to give you guys the basics of color. This is super easy, okay? It's not going to be complicated at all, and this is where the only bit of theory that we're going to cover is going to be covered here, and that's it. The rest of it is just fun and making art. Okay, then we're going to look at the 3 levels of using colors. Again, easy. And after that, we're going to understand lighting, and my hack to understanding it, once again, super easy. Then on top of that, I'm going to give you guys 2 demos. One is on how to add dramatic lighting immediately to any of your artworks, and adding mood shifts after that. Okay, so then now my goals, okay, is to give you guys as much value as I can in an hour, to make this a super relaxed session, no stress at all, and to make this free class better than the previous ones. Okay, all these videos that I put out for free for you guys, I want to improve on them with each and every one. Firstly, this is the only bit of theory that we are going to cover. It is the basics of color. So we just need to know a few things, okay? There's this color wheel, it exists. This is how colors exist in the world. This is how you might find it on a lot of softwares, and the colors next to each other in this order are very important because that's how they are on the spectrum, and this is how we will also be knowing them as we go forward, okay? So this is the only thing you need to remember, and how it's broken down. That is it. I promise you guys it is super simple. Okay, firstly, monochromatic, okay? Why I'm teaching you guys this theory is because whenever I say monochromatic, this is what I mean. It means single color. That's what mono means, right? So any artwork that just has one kind of color scheme, which is like different shades of gray, different shades of blue, all of that. And that's when we say monochromatic, that's it. Now, analogous are all the colors that are next to each other on the same color wheel, okay? So, and for example, you take the red, and then you can take the colors that are next to it, like either purple, slightly on yellow, then orange, then slightly on yellow, then we move on to slightly on the purple sides, all of that. And complementary, which is my favorite thing, is that the colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel. So it goes from, like, for example, what's opposite yellow? We get purple, right? So that is the only piece of theory that we need. Now, let me show you guys examples of how I personally apply each one of these color schemes and how I like using them, right? So monochromatic colors is when I think of an extremely moody or atmospheric scene, like an overcast sky or nighttime, right? Most of the scene is covered by one particular mood or color. That is here, you can see. This is like a very, very dull sort of purplish gray tone that we are seeing. It's almost like just desaturated gray. You can just do the same, right? Another 2 examples are here. And here I want to show that you can put in some other slight tones of color, like I've added in lights here, but it's still overwhelmingly, the artwork is still just one color, right? I've just added some bits of light just to add life to the illustration. So this is monochrome, and there's nothing wrong with it. You can still make amazing artworks by just using single colors and the different shades. Okay, now let's go on to analogous. I usually think of more dramatic scenes here where I can play with the contrast a bit more, okay? I like adding a bit of vibrancy and playing with the colors in the same range. So for example, is usually a sunset or similar lighting scenarios. Like this artwork that you see on the left is a variety of these colors, right? We have the yellow right over here, then we move on to the browns and the reddish tones over here, right? Now you might think that, okay, are these just different shades of brown? But they're actually quite close to each other on the color wheel, like going right from yellow to the dull orange and brown tones, right? So they might seem monochrome, but they're slightly analogous as well. That is what I mean by expanding the palette, and I love using it for these, right? Now here's another example, right? Now these are more high contrasty. Like you can see here that this is just a darker, dull version of the light that's up over here. Once again, it's just simple contrast and it's fun. So again, I'm using your much warmer colors like yellows, reds, browns, And over here I'm using the cooler colors, which is the opposite end of the spectrum, where I am using like the blues, purples, pinks, right? And it's just so effective in these dramatic scenes. Like, I love this. Okay, good. We are good on time. I am trying to pack in as much value as I can in a short period of time to make this video as impactful for you guys. Next, let's look at complementary, which is my most favorite, mainly because it just helps me pick colors easily. Like, I don't even have to think at all about this. It's just super, it's like a no-brainer for me. And it just helps add vibrancy and makes the artwork way more appealing immediately. So let's look at this, okay? So this artwork mostly has like dull blues or purples here on the left, right? That we can see, right? And to contrast that, I go opposite, boom, that's it. And I get these nice like yellows, oranges tones that you see here, okay? But hey, what about my character? So my character is like, I gave her mostly like a green hoodie that you can see. It's a green over there. And I want something to contrast out. So I take what's opposite green, like this, red, right? That you can see. So I take this Pokeball, red, boom, done. So I actually first put the Pokeball and then I made her hoodie green. That is the facts. So it's like priorities, right? And yeah, now let me show you guys some more examples of how I'm using complementary colors in that way. So here we have, okay, let's look at these two similar color palettes, right? So majority of the artworks are in this range, which is the purple, bluish tone. And to bring out some life and contrast, we go completely opposite and we go for the yellow orange tone. And you can just blatantly see it right here. Like, look at this contrast. That's why the sky looks so beautiful. It's solely because of the contrast. Then our character also can stand out against the background because of this contrast as well. Similarly here, this area feels like it has a lot of life because of this contrast. And the rest of the artwork around it, right, that we see here, is just like helping that stand out. And again, it's just dark colors. So it's just a no-brainer for me when it comes to just adding in colors. I just don't have to think much. I just remember the color wheel and I'm like, okay, what is opposite each other? And that is it. All right. Now let's look at some more examples. Red and green, right? These are colors that I rarely use, but still I love using them. Now, for example, once again, both of these have the same color. So if we have something that's overwhelmingly green that we see in a lot of the background, I want the foreground to really stand out. So I go with, of course, red, boom, right, immediately. Same thing over here. It's mostly red, right? So you want some good contrast, you take the green. I know this is a study from like Ghibli, Spirited Away. But again, you just see how beautifully the green, wherever it is, stands out against the red, right? It is such a work of art. Like, I love it. Okay, let's look at more examples. Something a little bit more complex, right? So now this artwork on the left, again, it is the cool blue contrasted with the orange, right? And I'm going to show you guys how to make exactly this artwork in a few seconds, and how to get this lighting in the demonstrations that I have prepared for you guys. Okay, that is coming up in just a few minutes. Now, similarly here, if everything is mostly just in the greens, right, that you can see in the background, or if it's like this green to slightly bluish tone, to make things pop out, I've gone to the opposite side of the spectrum and I've just taken the reds and pinks from here. Boom, that is it. So that's how I come up with colors. That's how I do a lot of these things, and it's as simple as that, as straightforward, and it is fun. Once you understand this, once you crack it, it is super easy. Next, okay, let's look at lighting. Okay, and a simple hack that I like to follow, which is like a genius all-knowing hack, I mean, according to me, but it is that lighting is all about framing your story. Okay, so what is your story? Your story is the main part of whatever you want your audience to notice first, and whatever is the main kind of interest of your piece, right? What everything revolves around in your piece. Okay, that's your story. This is usually mostly characters, okay, for most people. But for some people it's the sky, some people it's some prop, some people it's other things, right? Or it's a scene that's happening. So how you frame it, according to me, is how I like to use lighting. Now, your story is your main point of interest. That's the most important thing. So, how do you start framing this interest? Simple formula. If your story, which is your character, is dark, make your background light. And if your character or your story is light, make your background dark. Okay, what about colors? Right? What colors do you use, right? Well, we've just learned complementary colors or analogous. Find the contrast and make it stand out. Like here, it's genius once you start thinking about it, right? So here, my background is mostly just blues. So what is opposite? Yellow, right? Here, boom, yellow. That's framing it. And since my character is dark, I have just framed my character with a nice framing of a block of yellow to make my character stand out. Boom, that's it. It's literally just framing it. That's my character. Okay, let me show you guys more examples to give you all a good understanding of what I mean. Similarly here. All right, awesome. So this is again a complementary color scheme, which means the colors are opposite each other on the spectrum, blue and purple versus yellow. And since my character is dark, the background has to be light to frame my character. Easy. Now let's look at something that's a bit more analogous. All these are very dull reddish colors, red, orange, browns, all of that. So again, once I need to frame my character, I'm just going to go with a brighter color, yellow, since my character is in the dark, frame it, and we are done. That's it. Easy, right? That is all that I think about when I come up with lighting. And I'm going to show you guys exactly how to add lighting to your pieces, so don't worry about that. Let's look at some more examples, right? So again, characters in the dark. This all is kind of dull, purplish, bluish color, and hence the background is yellow. Really stands out, really adds to the mood. Inside feels colder, outside feels warmer, and again, it's as simple as framing your character. Now my character's in the light, right? Like this. So I make the background dark. Make them really pop out. Really frames them. Super easy. Okay? Once again, let's look at two more examples. Characters are in the dark, and the light, which is the brighter background, just frames them so I can see my character completely. Again, here. Just you can see your character easily, and again this is a purplish bluish tone, so the opposite is going to be yellowish, reddish, orangish. That's how I use colors, and once you start noticing this, you'll see this in all my artworks, and it's a no-brainer. And lastly, this, we have nice contrasting examples of one character in the dark, one character that's lit up, and how I light them accordingly. So here I made a dark tunnel in the background, or even if I put my character up here in the forest, right? I would put my character in an area where there are no bright trees in the back, so they can just stand out as a contrast against the dark forest, like behind them, right? That's all you have to do. You don't always have to add like tunnels all the time, right? You can just find darkness wherever you want. And here again, simple, just light up the sky with some atmosphere behind the character and they get perfectly framed. That's it. Now let me show you guys some examples. Okay, firstly this one. Oops, how did I move it here? Yeah, I didn't move it at all, my bad. Okay, so we have two layers, one background and one character. This is literally how I made it. Now if you remember, I showed you guys some dramatic lighting earlier. Super easy. Okay, so adding lighting is all to do with just blending modes, which most softwares have, like Procreate, Clip Studio, even Krita and Photoshop, like this. So we just added a new layer, and this is the magic, right? You see it says normal. Again, in Procreate, if you tap on the N, you'll get this option. You can just go down and pick Vivid Light, or pick any blending mode you want and experiment, right? I use Vivid Light for this, so I'm just going to pick a dull yellowish orange color. And how do I... Okay, took that, change it to a brush. I just want like a default round brush. Okay, something like this. Perfect. Okay, and boom, we can add lighting behind the character like that, but that's too bright. Yeah, this is perfect. I just reduced the brightness of it, and we add some dramatic lighting. Boom, just like that. right? And it frames our character. Now we can filter this, give it a slight Gaussian blur, just to make this edge feel a little bit more natural. Done. Right, that is how I add dramatic lighting to a lot of my pieces, right? Say you want to add lighting on the character also, right? You just come in, let me add this layer on top. Say if I wanted to do this, but I wanted my character to stand out, and then I can just erase for the shadow areas wherever needed, and my character is still being lit by this cool lighting. I'm just doing this very roughly right now. Whatever, but my character is still being lit by it, right? So you guys can just see. Boom, done. But I want it there behind so my character really stands out. And that is how I add dramatic lighting to a lot of my pieces. Just add in a new layer, add a blending mode, and figure out how you want to frame the character. And this just gives it contrast. Super simple. Now, let me show you guys how to add something else that I like, which is using the complementary colors called a mood shift. So we have this artwork, right? Now this looks nice as is. Once again, my character is framed because my character is in the light, so the background is dark. So I'm just following the same principles that I told you guys. Now I'm gonna add in a new layer. Let's call this mood shift. And I'm gonna give it an overlay blend mode. Okay, boom. And let's go with the soft round brush as well. So now I want to make the top colder, so let's go with a nice bluish tone like this, because remember I want to add mood to this. I want to make this feel like it's a nighttime scene or something. So I'll make the top colder just like that. Hold on, this is where the magic happens. And the bottom I want to make it warmer because that's where the light is hitting. Boom, done. Now it has so much light. Now you can feel the cold on top and feel the warmth below. Right, that is it. That's all that there is to how I go about colors and lighting in each and every one of my artworks. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video lesson. I'm trying to work on my videos that I put up on YouTube, so give me tips, anything that you guys want, also suggestions for the next videos. And of course, all my tutorials are there on my Patreon. My Gumroad has all my tutorial packs, brushes. You can also follow me on all my socials, all of that. And thank you guys so much for the support. Once again, thank you for 90K subscribers. That is amazing. And I will see you guys in the next one. Okay, done. Oh, I didn't even take a sip of this. Let's move on to the next. Let's go.